Hi and welcome to another video by me, Flojo. Today we're going to be looking at the FormatDateTime function on PowerAutomate. So, firstly let's look at some dates and time patterns. Well, we have the short date pattern, which looks like this. It's got May the 7th, 2021, so we have the 5, the 7, 2021. But the short date pattern changes depending on where you are in the world. So for example in France, it's the 7th of May rather than May the 7th. And then in Japan, you have 2021, then May, then the 7th. So then we have the long date pattern, which has the full name of the day, Friday, has the full name of the month, May 7th, 2021. Then you've got the full date and time pattern, which is Friday, May 7th, 2021, and it's 9 AM with the short time. And then you can have a long time pattern, and you can have just the month and day, say May 7th in the US, or the 7th of May in Great Britain. As you can see, there's many different iterations for many different patterns, and obviously you need to change this for where you're located. So if we have something like this, 2021-05-07, then we have the T to signify the time, 090001 point. How do we change this into one of our patterns? Well, let's say we've got a variable of date. It's 2021-05-07 T09001. How do we change this into one of those date formats? Well, if we use the FormatDateTime function, we pass in the initial date, so the one that we were just discussing of the variable, and then we can pass in a format. So in this instance, what we're passing through is dddd, which represents the full name of the day, comma, capital M, capital M, capital M, capital M, which signifies the full month, space, dd, which signifies the number for the day, and also then we are passing through comma, space, yyyy, which is the full year. Now this looks really confusing. There's loads of D's, there's loads of M's, there's capital M's, small d, small y's. So what does this actually return us then? Well, this returns Friday, May 7th, 2021. Okay, so what do all these letters mean then? Well, in the example here we have the first D. So just passing through, D is for day, and that would be, for example, 7. It will be the 7th day. Or if we are passing through DD, it's going to pass through 07 because it's the 7th day of the month. Now, what if we wanted the actual name of the day? Well, you can get an abbreviation for this, so rather than full Monday, you can get MON, M-O-N, pass through DDD. And then if you wanted the full name of the day, you would pass in 4 Ds. DDDD would give you back Monday. Now, what if you wanted to do this with months then? Well, it's exactly the same plan here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can see the same iteration for year as well. The difference here is that you have to use a capital letter for month. Now, why do you use a capital M when D and Y are lowercase characters? Well, a lowercase m represents minute, which we'll come on to in a moment. But a month is represented by a capital M. So let's say we wanted to get May. Well, we can just get 5 back by passing through M. But in our instance, if we wanted to get 05 to be consistent, maybe you've got a requirement that needs to have 2 digits for a month, then you can get the initial 0 by passing through MM. or you can get an abbreviation of the month name, such as June, for example. You can get JUN by passing through MMM. Or if you wanted the full month name, you can pass through MMMM, 4 M's. Now again, this is the same for a year. However, with the year, what actually happens is it starts from the last character and moves inwards. So in this instance, if we use Y and it's 2021, we'll get a return of 1. If we wanted to just get the 21 of 2021, we would use 2 Ys. If we wanted to get 021, then you would use 3 Ys, and if you wanted to get the full year, then you would pass in 4 Ys. So what does this look like then for time? Okay, so for time then, we have H for hour. So in this instance, we have 1 returned to us. But what if we wanted to get back the initial 0? Again, we would just do HH. Now if we use a capital H, that's going to give us a 24-hour clock iteration. So instead of 2 o'clock, we'll get 14 back. But if we wanted to get the initial 0, let's say midnight, then we want to get 00 back, we need to pass through capital H, capital H. And again for minute, we just pass through 1M for say 5, or 2 M's if we want 05. Again with seconds, it's exactly the same. You pass through S for the initial second. We'll pass through 2S is to get a initial 0, and you get 07. And then you can actually add AM and PM onto this. So with an initial T, you'll get A or P, but if you do 2 T's, you get AM or PM. So obviously there is a lot of different iterations here, and this is not all of them. There is many more, and I'm going to include this on my blog post, which I'll link below in the description, so that you can actually see all the different iterations that you can go through to format your date and times. So let's actually take a look at this then on PowerAutomate. Right, so we're on PowerAutomate and we've got a manual trigger for our flow. We're actually setting the date that we used in our example that we was just discussing, 2021-05-07T09. It's 9 AM for the 7th of May 2021. Okay, so imagine that date then has come through from an external database, or we've used a custom connector to retrieve it from an API. How do we format this? Well, as we was discussing about all of the different characters, we can format this based on what we want to see. Now in this instance, we have the short date and time. However, there are patterns that you can use. So if we just pass through a lowercase d when passing through the date in the format date and time, so we're passing through date, then just d, it will use the short date format, but it will be in a US format. So what we are expecting back here is the short date and time in US format. But what if we wanted to do the short date time in the UK, in Great Britain? Well, what we can do then is pass through the format date time and pass the date into the format date time function, and then just pass a string through with dd/M/YYY. Then if we wanted to say format date and time with the long date example, we wanted to manually do this, we can use format date and time, we'll pass in the variable, and then what we're going to do is we're going to pass through dddd, so we're going to get the full name of the day, comma, space, MMMM in capitals, space dd, so we're going to get the full day, the day name, then we're going to get the full month name, then we're going to get the number of the day of the month, and then we're going to do comma and then the year. We're going to also pass through to get a long date abbreviated version, we're going to use the FormatDateTime function again and pass through the variable of date, but this time we're only going to pass through 3 Ds and 3 Ms to get an abbreviated version of this one that we just discussed. And then we're going to do a final one just looking at the time. Again, with the time it's exactly the same but just using their denominators. So we're going to use the FormatDateTime, we're going to pass through the date variable, and this time we're going to just pass through the hour, then the minutes, then the seconds, and then TT to get to see if it's AM or PM. So let's test this flow out then. Okay, so our flow ran successfully. We set our date and time. So in the first instance, we're just using that D pattern, and I'll link below to the patterns that Microsoft provides. And if you're just looking to get the US equivalent of the pattern with the month, then day, then year, then you can just use that format. But if you're in another country such as Great Britain and you wanted to use the initial zeros as well, you can use the pattern that we used, which was dd /M/YYYY. And then again, where we were looking at getting the full day, then the full month, 07, and then the full year. And then in the abbreviated version, we just wanted an abbreviation. Now obviously May is only 3 characters, so we get May back, but we're getting Fri instead of Friday, May 07 2021. And then last but not least, we have our time. So we're getting the hour, the minutes, the seconds, and that it is AM. And that is how you use format, date and time. And remember to check out the blog post to get access to all of the different abbreviations that you can actually use, such as DD, FF, all of these different type of things that we haven't actually discussed in this video. But as you can see from the video, just using the FormatDateTime function, you pass through the initial date that you have, then you pass through a string that you build up yourself, and then you can have whatever form of date and time that you'd like. That's it from me, Flojo. Check out my blog at flojo.io for more guides on the Power Platform, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit that like button if you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.